Welcome to the Positive Spiritual Living Podcast, brought to you by Unity on the Bay. This is your positive path for spiritual living.
Gandhi once said these words. They're few in number, but powerful in nature, I believe. Good government is no substitute for self-government. The best government on the world can only be a government that is created by the individuals that comprise it. And what this means, my friends, is that we have to be cautious, I believe, about issuing our instructions to the way government needs to be. More important, we need to call ourselves into alignment with our own ideals in such a way that our performance in the world from day to day is a reflection in integrity of what we believe good government is all about. Then we can stand rightly for whatever causes we believe in, knowing that we are not asking anything of anyone else or anything else that we are not asking of ourselves. Every one of us has an internal government, a governing body within us. It's made up of all kinds of representatives, and we even have a presidente up there, and we have a judge up there. And all the time, whether we realize it or not, the fact is that most of us are completely oblivious to the fact that this government is even operating inside of us. We just assume that it's the way we're supposed to be. But the reality is the government is established within us, and it has, if you haven't noticed, an ongoing commentary that is usually judgmental in nature and sometimes extremely harsh, and in fact occasionally condemnatory. And this government can operate completely outside of our awareness, so it behooves us to become more aware of the government within us to make sure that we are in alignment and in integrity ourselves with what we believe, so that we can then call those outside of us to be accountable to what is right, to what is good, to what is necessary in the world. The question then that I have for you this morning is, what are you putting into the government? What are you putting into the government that exists within you, that then empowers you to put something to make a contribution? Remember, a nation is nothing more than the sum total of everyone that is a part of it. So the call to accountability has to begin within us first, and then we can stand with strength in the world around us to make a difference in a positive way. A lot of you are familiar with these words, so if you feel so guided, you may join me in speaking them at this time. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Them's powerful words, my friends. Liberty and justice for all. This is what our nation calls itself to be, and it is also what we must call ourselves to be living lives that promote liberty and justice for everybody. And we can't do this, my friends, if we are not extremely vigilant in terms of our own biases and prejudices. And this is not always an easy thing to bring awareness to. None of us really wants to believe that we are casting harsh or condemnatory judgment on anybody at any time for anything. But the reality is, and I'll stand before you self-admitted, I do it more than I'd like to say. And what I'm talking about is not necessarily demonstrative in nature. It is, again, that judge, that train of thought that's moving through my mind all the time that offers me this commentary on the world outside of me. I experience this, and I'm having true confessions this morning. I experience this when I'm out taking my walks in the park, and I see the wonderful variety of human beings that we have in the city of Miami. Everything from the individual who seems to be the self-made, confident businessman walking out there along beside the individual who's just spent the night in the park and probably had a very difficult evening. We see it all, don't we? And what I'm admitting to you this morning is that there is a commentary that runs through my mind regarding people that I've never met and that I do not know. I know nothing about these people, and yet the commentary runs as though it knew everything about everybody. Now, my saving grace in this situation is that I've learned this commentary exists, and I'd be willing to bet it exists within you. At some points, perhaps in milder forms than others, but it's still a running commentary. Now, the moment that we become aware of this judge within us that is casting its opinion on everybody and everything out here, according to our own measures or standards, the moment we become aware is the moment that we can begin to make a contribution toward real freedom, first for ourselves and then in our world. Do we not all believe that all people are created equal in the image and likeness of God? How many of you believe that? And how many of you believe that every time you approach somebody and as you discourse with them, you are holding that image of the presence of God right before your eyes, no matter who or what it is that's going on out here? Commendations to you. If you can do that, it represents a lot of spiritual work and a great deal of awareness on your part. For people like myself who still discover that running commentary moving through their minds and through their thoughts, here's this to offer. Recognize, as I opened this conversation with this morning, you have the ability to change that commentary. You have a choice. The moment you become aware of yourself making a harsh or condemnatory judgment about anybody or anything, you have the ability through self-awareness to stop in your tracks and reconsider, who am I to judge? Now, you might recall that our good friend, our way shower, our teacher, Jesus Christ, had a few words to say about judgment. He cautioned us to be very careful in terms of our discrimination, both of ourselves and other people, when he said this in the book of Matthew, 7th chapter, 1st and 2nd verses. Judge not, that you be not judged, for with the judgment you pronounce, you will be judged, and the measure you give will be the measure you get. You see, we'd like to think that we can throw judgment out here onto the world in different forms and fashions, and it has no consequences on we ourselves. But I'm telling you this, it's like what I used to call a spiritual boomerang. You throw your judgment out into the world. Guess what? It has not nearly the impact on anybody else as it has on you. It comes right back to you like a boomerang. Why is that? Because in ultimate reality, there is only one of us here. There's only one of us here. When we judge another, we are in some form or fashion judging ourselves. And self-judgment, I believe, is the cruelest judgment of all. Because once we have judged or condemned ourselves, there's little we can do to help liberate others. So we need to become extremely vigilant in terms of the judgment that we are sending not only out to others, but the judgments that our own internal government may be casting upon ourselves. And they can be the harshest and they can be the most challenging. When we beat ourselves up over decisions from the past, actions from the past, or actions out of even the present moment. When we condemn ourselves to not living up to our own standards. It's not an opportunity for condemnation, it's an opportunity for awareness. And once aware, we can then begin to alter ourselves without the burden of guilt and shame. My friends, hear me on this. Guilt and shame have never done anyone any good. That's why I always say when you come here, you're in an environment where there is no guilt, there is no shame, there's just God. And there's the awareness of God. The awareness of God will automatically liberate you from guilt and shame, and it will automatically allow you to establish a new definition for yourself, one in which you're not beating yourself up, in which you're not persecuting yourself. And remember, the only form of persecution ultimately is persecution that we accept and that we enact upon ourselves. Judgment of others. Now, I realize no one in the room is judging anybody this morning, but on the freak chance that you have judged anybody in this past week, especially let's look very closely at the members of our immediate family. Sometimes we hold them to the harshest judgment and the harshest criticism. Because, it's so easy, isn't it? I mean, I don't know if this is just human nature or not. It's so much easier for me to see inappropriate behavior in those outside of me that are closest to me without identifying it in myself. How convenient. And we often remember that phrase that when we're pointing a finger of persecution at somebody outside of us, there are always three fingers pointing back at us. And we're here to liberate ourselves from self-judgment. Think about your family members. Is there anybody that you have been holding up to expectations that maybe you need to let them down off that cross of persecution for just a few moments in time and instead offer them love, knowing that love has the ability to help you and them change their mind, change their opinion, and release their harsh judgment? No one, I'm sure, ever judges friends, even close friends, distant friends, and co-workers. How is it, have you noticed, that we tend to often draw into our work environments these unruly individuals? And have you noticed that no matter how many jobs you change to, those same individuals show up in different disguises? We're with these individuals probably more than we're oftentimes with even the members of our immediate family. So to what degree are we releasing them from our own judgments, releasing ourselves from our judgments, and realizing we can never expect the world to live in peace if we are not living in peace within ourselves? So it comes right back onto us. The responsibility for good government must begin with self-government, self-awareness. Now we begin to have actualized, awake individuals who are a part of the national government that begin to make changes that we're all longing to see in the world. And we, you see, are an integral part of it. We want to be able to model and to exhibit these understandings within ourselves. So my question of you this morning is, are you promoting condemnation, or are you promoting understanding? It's very possible for us to stand up in this world for the causes that we believe in, being a mighty force and being in complete integrity, to stand up for what is important to us without putting others down. You can stand up with strength without putting others down. Putting others down is actually a convenient excuse for not standing, in fact, I believe, in the certainty of your own strength. Stand in the certainty of your own strength, and what you will find is that strength will bring into the world, that strength will bring into government that which you are longing to see. And you will not be forcing other people to be put down. You will not have to make others less so that you can be more. Now you're really a representative for equality. I have a story I want to share with you this morning. It was actually first shared with me earlier this year by that lady right there, Chris Arroyo, who always shares wonderful things with me. And I really actually want to take this as an opportunity to plug. Anytime you come across a great story that you think would be beneficial for the spiritual community of Unity on the Bay, email it to me. That's what Chris did. And I love this story. I'm going to be paraphrasing it and condensing it a bit this morning. I call it the story of the monks and the monastery. There were a number of monks assembled in a monastery in a woodland. At one point in time, the monastery was extremely popular and thriving with people all the time. But over the years, the monks, who were now all of them exceeding 70 years of age, had found that the crowds had fallen away. The monastery itself had fallen into a state something of disrepair, and they were actually concerned about the future existence of this spiritual center that had meant so much to them. Now, they caught wind that the rabbi at the nearby synagogue was coming into town, and together they decided to appoint one of them to go meet with the rabbi and share their concern about the future of the monastery. And so one of them went forth and met with the rabbi and explained the situation. And the rabbi says, well, I wish that I could help you, but I have actually the same problem right here. No one comes to the synagogue anymore, and I don't know what to do about it. So in something of a state of dismay, the monk prepares to leave. And just before he departs, the rabbi comes to him and says these words. I cannot help you with your current situation, but I can tell you this. One of the monks amongst you is the Messiah. Well, the monk didn't know quite what to make with that. He considered the message to be cryptic in a certain nature, but he left, and when he got back, the other brothers came around him and said, So what did the rabbi tell you? And he said, well, the rabbi had no solutions for our problem, but as I was leaving, he said a very perplexing thing. He said that one of us right here in this circle right now was the Messiah. Well, all of the monks began to debate within themselves and to each other the pros and the cons of any one of them actually being the Messiah, the impossibility or the likelihood, whatever it might be. And as they continued this discussion, what they found over the next week, over the next month, in the time that passed, they began to treat each other with a level of mutual respect and understanding on the slight chance that any one of them might be the Messiah. They began to change even their perceptions of themselves, thinking that perhaps I am the Messiah and I just didn't know it. So an air of mutual respect and understanding and appreciation came over the monastery. And as it did, people who were traveling by through the woodland caught wind of some kind of an energetic field, a difference that was coming from this old dilapidated monastery, and they began to gather there. They liked the feel of the energy. They began to see the modeling and the demonstration of mutual respect among one another. My friends, there's a statement that we often use from the Eastern thought modalities that says this in a word, namaste. Namaste is a way of saying, I see, I behold, and I salute the divinity that is within you. It is my personal belief that every one of us is, in fact, a Messiah. Every one of us is a Savior unto the world. The moment that we recognize the Christed nature, the divine nature that is within us, it shifts our own self-image, frees us of self-judgment, frees us of this sometimes compulsive desire to judge everybody and everything outside of us, and allows us to rise up as the powerful divine presence that we are. You in this room this morning are a savior unto yourself, and you are a savior unto the world. As soon as you liberate yourself, your own government within yourself, you begin to become a contributing factor toward the liberation of government in this nation and government upon the face of this planet. There is no other way to change the world than one person at a time. And I salute you for being willing to accept that. I close this morning with the words of one of my favorite people, though no longer on this planet. You've heard me speak of him before. I think as soon as I begin reading this prayer, you're going to know who wrote it. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me bring love. Where there is offense, let me bring pardon. Where there is discord, let me bring union. Where there is error, let me bring truth. Where there is doubt, let me bring faith. Where there is despair, let me bring hope. Where there is darkness, let me bring your light. Where there is sadness, let me bring joy. O Master, let me not seek as much to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. Let me not seek so much to be understood as to understand. Some of the people in a local television station in Denmark Video have produced a video that I want to share with you this morning. Open your hearts, my friends, because this is power.
It's easy to put people in boxes. There's us, and there's them. The high earners, and those just getting by. Those we trust, and those we try to avoid. There's the new Danes, and those who've always been here. The people from the countryside, and those who've never seen a cow. The religious, and the self-confident. There are those we share something with, and those we don't share anything with.
Velkommen. Jeg kommer til at stille jer nogle spørgsmål i dag. Nogle af dem kan godt være lidt personlige, men jeg håber, I vil svare ærligt på dem. Hvem herinde i rummet var klassens klovn? Hvem er bonusforældre?
And then suddenly, there's us. We who believe in life after death. We who've seen UFOs. And all of us who love to dance. We who've been bullied. And we who've bullied others. And then there's us, the lucky ones who've had sex this past week. We who are broken-hearted. We who are madly in love. We who feel lonely. We who are bisexual. And we who acknowledge the courage of others. We who have found the meaning of life. And we who have saved lives. And then there's all of us who just love Denmark. So maybe there's more that brings us together than we think. TV2 Denmark. All that we share.
There are those who love Denmark. We are amongst them. There are those, my friends, who love the United States of America. And it is incumbent upon us to live lives that make our nation a richer place in which to live. I take the liberty this morning of rewriting the Pledge of Allegiance. Please humor me as I share it with you. I pledge allegiance to unconditional love, mutual respect, and the freedom they ensure. Through the united state of my own consciousness in governing of my own life, one individual under God's guidance, unified with the purpose of demonstrating liberty and justice for all. Happy Independence Day.
That video. We're going to invite our ushers to come forward. Thank you, Chris, for that. On a lighter note, you were talking about other co-workers and not me, right? Okay, all right, okay.
Perfectly clear. I love this guy with all my heart. Joy to work with him.
We have a beautiful message and we have fun here, which is a beautiful, beautiful thing. So as our ushers are already here, I'm going to invite you to prepare your love offerings and know that your love offerings are an extension of that which you want to see in the world: generosity, love, gratitude for all that is. And so as you also prepare your love offering, I'm going to just let you know that we, as we said, we made a couple of changes to our order of service, and we have shifted a little bit and created a new prosperity opportunity blessing. And so I'm going to say a few of the words myself, and then I'm going to invite you to speak them with you. But before we do that, I'm going to just invite you to take a few moments in the silence to infuse that love offering, that tithe, with the intention of love, the intention of liberty and justice for all. Repeat after me. Divine love, that I am, blesses and multiplies all that I give and all that I receive. And so it is. Amen.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Positive Spiritual Living Podcast, brought to you by Unity on the Bay, a spiritual community located in Miami, Florida. Unity on the Bay is supported by the generosity of its community. If you'd like to make a donation or learn more about Unity on the Bay, please visit unityonthebay.org. You can also follow Unity on the Bay on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for even more positive spiritual inspiration. Until next time, thanks for listening and many blessings. Namaste.